Alright guys, Fula coming to you with another video. Shout outs to the whole LGBT. If you like this video, I invite you to like the video, and if you want to go a step further, I invite you to subscribe to the page. You don't have to subscribe to the page, as it's always by choice, never by force. So first and foremost, I want to say that I hope that you have gained something from this whole experience that we have right now, and I hope that you are weathering this storm that we're going through in these times, and that after these times are over, that something of a beast is born, and that any challenges you have will seem like light work in light of this situation we have going on. So I want to talk about the Madagascar and their grassroots COVID-19 preventing. We Africans, I feel, hate each other a lot. And what I mean by hate each other, we hate ourselves, in the sense that we have so far been warped into this colonial mindset that we feel that if we take unconventional routes to find solutions, that we're somehow retarded, we're somehow dumb, we're somehow primitive. And this is why I see with this whole COVID-19 tonic that he made. And I'm going to tell you something for myself. Although I am not diagnosed or haven't been, given any symptoms, or I haven't had any symptoms, or I haven't exhibited anything in regards to COVID-19, I'm all about preventative measures. So mark my words, I'm going to find a way to get that COVID-19 Madagascar thing, and it's going to be in my possession. I'm going to make a YouTube video on it. Whether it be me asking my family back home to somehow ship it to me, I'm going to get some. You best believe I'm going to get a carton full of it. Okay? I'll find a way. Because if preventive measures can be taken, then so be it. Madagascar is not really a populated place like that. It's an island, but they don't have any deaths from COVID-19. And most of their cases, nearly half of their cases, have already recovered. I think they're at, don't quote me on this, but I think they're at 189 cases of COVID-19. 103 of those have recovered, and no deaths have been recorded. So when the president of Madagascar decides to take a grassroots, unconventional approach at a preventing measure of COVID-19, you know who comes out? I don't even have to name who comes out against it. World Health Organization. This COVID-19 tonic may spike cases in malaria in Africa. This untested thing may do such and such. And the sad thing about the World Health Organization is the guy who is one of the head honchos of it, he's an Ethiopian. And instead of maybe co-signing his brother, he's going against his brother, which I don't understand. But actually, let me take that back. I do understand it. Because, put it this way, if you have a natural cure, a natural preventive measure, a herbal tonic that could keep you from the COVID-19, you know what you're doing? You're cutting out the IMF's grind. You're cutting out the World Bank's grind. Because and you're cutting out Europe's grind too. Because how do these Western powers control the African continent? Let's look at how they control it. When things like AIDS, when things like HIV, when things like Ebola come, we have our hands out to, you guess, IMF, World Bank, and the like thereof, when these things come about. Right? Nothing is free. So, in getting the problem solved with these sources, and granted, the problem doesn't even get solved. We already know that the problem's still going on. It never really gets resolved. So, with that being said, you have that happening there, right? And then what happens is you're in debt. You're furthermore in debt. You're in more debt than you were before. And you already know it's going to take years and years to pay it back. And you probably never will pay it back. You know what I mean? That's just basically how it works. You know what I mean? So when Madagascar says, you know what, we may have a resource right here that can solve this problem, and they form the resource, they make it into a tonic. Countries like Senegal, Chad, Nigeria, Tanzania, and others are interested in purchasing this preventive measure. Then all of a sudden you have a problem. All of a sudden outsiders are talking against what you're doing. And the funny thing about it is they act like as if they're so concerned with Africa and the well-being of the people in Africa. All they are concerned about is doing what they've been doing. Raping, pillaging, exploiting, and dividing and conquer. They're not worried about any form of humanity when it comes to Africa. As a matter of fact, if I were to read the mind of them, they would probably prefer Africa to be empty so they can just grab and take, if you ask me. So my thing is, Africa and Africans who fall into this colonial mindset, you really need to just you know how we detox when we eat? Y'all gotta detox this colonial mindset, man. For real. These forces have done nothing for us. And we continue to let them do nothing for us. You know, God says he won't change the condition of people until they change what's inside themselves. He also said that anything that good happens, it comes from him. But he said that anything that bad happens comes from the work of our own hand. And so when we have our hand out, then that's just showing, we're not only showing our hands, but we're also showing the lack of work our hands are willing to do. And so, me personally, I co-signed this herbal remedy. And you have to ask yourself, before colonialism, how else were we solving our medical woes? Were we using, quote unquote, I want to say, like high high-tech means of doing so, advanced technological means. No, we were using what the president of Madagascar was using. Okay? That's what they were there for. That's what these trees, these flowers, these seeds, and these fruits of these unusual things were for. They were for that purpose, to keep us healthy. So, I don't know, man. I really don't at this point. But I really me personally, I just think it has to do with a bigger thing, a bigger problem. And the bigger problem is they don't want to see a sovereign, self-sufficient Africa that can solve its own issues and doesn't need the West to try to solve them for them, which they never do. I mean, let's be honest, they never do. Okay? So, with that being said, man, I just wanted to say that I think it's ridiculous that all of a sudden these media campaigns are coming out smearing what the president of Madagascar is doing. It's a propaganda campaign against him. Okay? And just recently, something else happened. And that's the reason why I want this thing. It's because in Wisconsin, well, I'm not in Wisconsin though, but still, this is something coming. In Wisconsin, they actually are allowing free testing only for blacks and other minorities. The other minority being Latin Americans. Why would you offer just free testing to them? Or I should say to us, if you weren't up to something. Okay? So, at the end of the day, I hope, as I said in a previous video, that this herbal tonic will bring the masses together of Africans and realize that we can solve our own problems. We don't need the Western imperialists to make even more problems, but mask it in solving them. But anyhow, man, that's all I got for now. Fool is signing out. Leave your thoughts and leave your comments.